Right, everybody, welcome to LPA Live. We are LP Alliance. We are an intercaucus coalition dedicated to rebuilding and revolutionizing the Libertarian Party. Today is an episode about Battleground, Michigan. It's no secret that the state of Michigan LP has gone through some rough times in recent years. But there is what seems to be a bit of a vibe shift happening there, where recently, they had a meeting and there was talks of funding basically a hit piece video against certain people, with friends of their people doing the directing of it. But that was resoundingly rejected by most people in the party, many of which are not necessarily super great terms with the other side. So this seems to be a move away from the idea of having a tyrant style leadership within the local party, and a move towards maybe a reconciliation and moving forward. I'm here today with Mike Saliba and Jami Van Alstine, and my co-host is Rose Leatherman. Rose did the last Michigan stream where some of these topics were discussed priorly. So I'm here basically to start asking, do you agree with those sentiments? Do you agree with the sentiment that there is kind of a vibe shift happening in the LP of Michigan? And I'll start with Jami on this one.
Well, I have certainly seen some of the hardliners on both sides talking with one another, not always agreeing, but at least talking with one another. And so that's something that hasn't really been happening in the last couple of years. So that seems indicative that there's a shift. And I think that vote at the last LEC meeting was clearly indicative that there's not a lot of patience remaining in the division, and in persecuting that division, right? So I agree.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm no fan of, me and Shelly have gotten into some spats, but I will give her respect for there. She shut it down. I watched the video and I was like, okay, this is, she called it for what it was, that it is a problem to maintain this ongoing division. So from your perspective, Mike, do you see the same sort of things happening on the ground?
I don't know if anybody's, if like the vibe shift is happening. I don't know if it's like on a conscious level with anybody more than it's just that things have been how they've been for a couple of years now. And I think people are realizing that, whatever you like what the national party recognizes as the official state party hasn't been working out. It hasn't been, doubling and tripling membership and winning local races and bringing all the crypto money. None of this stuff has happened. So it's less to do, like, I don't like anybody's going, I don't think I like those guys anymore. I think it's more just like, I sacrificed all my principles to support Donald Trump and all I got with this stupid war. And you just kind of like stop burning calories for the people who talked you into it.
So you think this was just the fruits of the labor? It's been seen, and people are overeating at that trough, and they're trying to be saying, hey, well, maybe there's another way forward. Is that kind of the perspective that you would kind of summarize that to?
Yeah, by their fruits we will know them, and everybody's eating poison fruit.
Yeah.
Right. Like, one thing I've noticed with the Michigan party, like, it seems like a lot of the divisions seemed to start long before they even had the Mises takeover. Like, I frequently joke, I'm like, the Michigan party makes the New York party look like a kumbaya circle by comparison. But I have noticed it does seem like, because there were factions other than, it wasn't just Mises versus non-Mises. There seemed to be multiple factions. It does seem like those different factions are now kind of starting to join together to push back against the current party leadership. Is that accurate?
Well, yeah, the current party leadership, to their eyes, there were only two factions, us and them. Mm-hmm. And, really, like any organization, it's made up of a large number of people who all came for different reasons and came at different times and bring different experiences. But for the last 2 years, it's been a very us versus them. And a lot of the them who got purged by leadership were a lot of the people who were building and maintaining this party for the last 50 years before they even joined. And it's like almost mechanical, some of the issues that they're having. It's not an ideological thing. It's they don't know how to do some of the stuff. And when nobody knows how to do some of the stuff, or nobody who's left knows how to do some of the stuff, the machine stops working. And the machine has grinded to a halt.
Right.
Because they don't know what they're doing.
Right. Seems like they removed people who actually knew how to at least run things. And yeah, it's left them with a completely non-functional party. And yeah, I'm guessing that like they were getting help from from Mises National for a while, but with their numbers and resources dwindling, it's probably going to get harder and harder for them to maintain their hold on your affiliate.
Well, it does seem like anytime you have a centralization of power and somebody that acts basically like it's my way or the highway, with an organization that's supposed to work off of cooperation, that things are going to inevitably fail when you start focusing on loyalty over application, right? And so, like you said, even if there is some slight ideological difference, if you take the value of absolute loyalty over that, you're going to lose your ability to kind of do your daily operations. But not only that, you're going to lose the people that you have with you if they even start to move out of that ideological lockstep. And I think a lot of that has been really what's happened. And hopefully people recognize that, like, hey, the side that was us versus them, there's not evil people on both sides of it. There are people that have just were caught up in the moment, and it forced this partisanship. And in reality, there, I think, in LP Alliance, we kind of have a separation between like me talks and people that were kind of just Ron Paul Republicans or Ron Paul libertarians. And in reality, one of those people can work with. The other one wants to control and homestead a libertarian party for ideological lockstep. And I don't think it works. I think we've seen that in recent years. And hopefully that will be maintained and there will be this kind of vibe check change moving forward. Okay, so I think that's enough of the past. I think we need to start focusing forward. So what can the party do if there is kind of a shift and a change in leadership coming up in the upcoming convention? Because you guys do have one coming up on July 19th and the 20th. And so there is expectations that there will be a large shakeup there. So if this does kind of bear out the way we expect it to, what are some of the initiatives everybody wants to see ramped up? So, Mike and Jamie, you both are in Michigan. What are some specific ones that you each want to do? And I'll go to Mike first on this one here.
Members, 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 and members. I think we just need a lot of new members. And when I say new members, I mean new members to the Libertarian Party, not a bunch of people we can work with because they also want to cut taxes, or not a bunch of people we can work with because they also hate Joe Biden, or even just hate Trump, whatever it is. But like actual people who read the platform, like the platform, and say, I'll buy that for $25. And then, keep that going. And I think that comes from just more initiatives during, times where there aren't any active campaigns going, instead of, campaigning for specific candidates. When advertising is cheap, maybe do an ad here or there for like the party. Like, hey, there's this party and you can join it now. You don't have to. We're not telling you who to vote for right now. There's no election. There's no other political ads, every 10 seconds on TV or online. Like, do it right now. There's no political campaigns going on right now. We should be like advertising right now through any means necessary, and just other events. There's a lot going on in the country that we can siphon people off from. But yeah, members. It's been dwindling in Michigan, and it's been dwindling in national. I think that was purposeful, but we need to reverse the damage.
Yeah, I tend to agree that I don't know if it was intentional or if people were really delusional, that the PR kind of situation that's happened for the party in recent years wasn't going to be damaging. and not having people wanting to join up. But it's been very clear that that's the case. And I like the idea of an advertising campaign, largely because the PR situation for the party is so bad, right? Like our loudest affiliates don't represent our philosophy very well publicly. It definitely does not inspire people to join. And so if we can start getting more positive, anti-war stances out there, civil liberties stances out there, I think there's a real chance that America is looking for something different, especially in these political times. So I think it would be very positive if you could do that, and specifically targeting young people near colleges or something with an advertisement would be really good. Jami, any other initiatives? Maybe we got membership done. Let's say we get membership and things are turned around, or in the process of turning around. Is there any other initiatives that you're also interested in?
Well, I certainly want to reiterate Mike's point, and the fact that this isn't just a Michigan problem; it is a national problem, and we do need to bring in new members. But the other side of that, before we move on to some of the other initiatives, is we need to re-engage our current members. I mean, our membership has been alienated both in Michigan and nationally, and so we're hoping for leadership that, again, is focused on supporting member initiatives, activists in the party, and giving support to candidates. That itself is an advertisement. You did mention college students. I mean, I was working with Young Americans for Liberty. I mean, we need to get on college campuses and communicate to young people, especially those that are super engaged politically, that there are other choices, and that the Libertarian Party itself is both a beautiful philosophy, but a viable party to make political change. So I hope to see, more of that, to a return to that. But yeah, I mean, we need new members. We need to re-engage and listen to our members and support our members, something that hasn't been happening in the last couple of years, and definitely outreach.
Right. So, because it does seem like there's a focus in your state on activism. So, like, do you have any examples? It seems like a lot of the people who are involved in activism, they're either not in party leadership, or they may not be involved in the party, or at least not really. Like, do you have examples of like what you'd consider the activist wing of the party to be currently focusing on?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, the partnering with Young Americans for Liberty, and I believe that we have a couple of members that are working with Students for Liberty. This is one such way that you can do that, and we're trying to ramp that up. But I mean, we have a Mises Caucus member in this state that throughout the entire couple of year period of a division was very active in the Defend the Guard movement. And he was, in spite of his leaders and leadership of the Mises Caucuses, their strategy for alienating and closing out members and pushing out anybody that wasn't in the Mises Caucus, he was actively engaged with trying to bring everybody in despite the differences. And I mean, this is something that used to happen all the time in Michigan. And we need to continue to support those types of members, those types of initiatives, because those they're bigger than the party, essentially, in ways, and they're bigger than individuals, and they're certainly bigger than caucuses. So definitely would like to see more of that.
Right. Yeah, I can definitely relate to that, because my state party, we're kind of trying to focus or shift some of our focus onto more activism and less just endless ballot access chasing. So yeah, I can imagine like that would be very frustrating if you have people in positions of leadership who, I guess, are short-sighted enough that they're willing to cut ties or alienate people who are working to make things actually happen on the ground.
So what about you, Mike? Do you have any specific activism that you'd want to highlight that's happening in Michigan?
Um, Not that I can think of at the moment. Like just last week or whatever it was, I dragged some of my signs over to the No Kings protest, and you had people who, there is a thought within the Libertarian Party that we draw more Republicans than we do Democrats, and I think statistically that's probably correct, but it's not impossible. And it's also not impossible that something like a No Kings protest isn't going to have those types of people there. But, people who usually wouldn't come to, say, a Second Amendment rally, people who wouldn't usually come to, say, anti-tax rally, but still are interested in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, which, I came to libertarianism just through reading the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. I thought the Libertarian Party was the one that did that the best. That's an avenue into the Libertarian Party, and it's just this is an example of just being out there with, I had a big 8-foot sign, and it had, hammer and sickle with the no international no symbol, Ghostbusters thing, and it had a big swastika with a buster symbol around it, covering all the bases. And people were kind of curious to see who showed up with this sign, and it's fun.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of talks inside of LP Alliance about what is the role of libertarians when it comes to these kind of popular protest movements that basically don't have much guidance, right? There are people that are clearly angry that the system is the way it is right now. And we really need, as libertarians, to be steering them that this is a byproduct of the centralization of power that has been allowed to happen from both sides, right? And I feel like it is an opportunity to take advantage of that kind of American root of that we do have these separation of powers, that we all should be skeptical of the government and kind of help shape it. Because currently, that there's a question of if this is a Marxist or a communist, statist communist movement. And, I think there are a lot of Americans that will never accept that sort of a thing, both on the left and the right. And really, libertarians have an opportunity as the party and the principles that have always stood against this to come out there. And so I commend the activism of going out there and doing that. I think we need to do more of it and going out into spaces of people that are ideologically different than us, try to be everybody's libertarian best friend and shift do incremental changes in maybe what they believe.
Right. A lot of people, including a lot. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of people, including a lot of older people, because it was my line the entire day, their eyes got pretty wide when I said, well, as a libertarian, we just want the president to have so little power, you don't care who it is. And they'd never thought of it from that angle before.
Yeah, I feel like, because I had a lot of people say, oh, I don't see the point in showing up to this protest. It's all leftist. Well, a lot of people, I feel like, having a presence at protests like this, yeah, we can get people to see things from our angle. And I think, a lot of us came from the left. Like, I think this is a great opportunity to reach out to people who, yeah, they're angry about the fact that they can't afford the cost of living. They can't afford healthcare. They can barely afford their utility bills. They may not understand why that is. Like, they may be blaming, oh, it's greedy companies raising their prices. They may not realize, no, it's actually the monetary system, and it's the fact that the state has a money monopoly. Like, this is a great opportunity to reach out and plant these ideas in people and, yeah, get them to kind of see things our way, I think.
I mean, economically, right? This has kind of been a major change where you have left-leaning people yelling about tariffs and free trade. Mm-hmm. Like, libertarians should be rejoicing at the moment that this is a conversation is happening there and do our best to reinforce that. And so that way it's not, 4 years from now or 2 years from now when they swap positions in power, that this is just a talking point to go against Trump, that libertarians should be trying to solidify that in their mind, that it is this, economic and monetary policy that is a failure because of that centralization and the control over it, and that it's just feeding the government more money and taking it out of the average American's pocket. So I actually agree very much that we should be going out there and we should be welcoming. I think we need to maintain our principles. I think we saw recently kind of a shift in what is the acceptable Overton window within our own party, which was, I think, what pushed a lot of people away, is that it got very narrowed down around a conservative interpretation of libertarian philosophy. And that pushed a lot of longtime libertarians away. And I think we need to kind of do away with this and really broaden it and bring in both sides of the political spectrum. So I guess the next question that I have is, there was contentions about region formations that happened, and Michigan was a component in that. There's going to be a new convention in Grand Rapids. What is your opinion on kind of region formations? Has there been any discussions, or are you thinking any specific strategies with that? And if it's too in detail that you want to keep it close to the chest, I understand. But just discuss what what you didn't like about the last one and what maybe you want to see going forward. And I guess I'll start with Jami on this one.
Well, I mean, we were put in Region 1 by Andrew Chatterton, clearly for political purposes. The fact that we are in a region with Hawaii, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, I mean, they're disparate states, and we're here Midwesterners. I don't know where, the real political, cultural, or any other connection is here other than, Mises Caucus. And no member had a say. It was done unilaterally. So certainly in Grand Rapids, I hope that we have a chair that takes the input from the board and members and talks to other chairs and in the region and find a region that makes sense, that represents Michiganders in a way that this current region, this Region 1 super region, does not. It doesn't represent us at all.
And how about you, Mike?
I don't spend a lot of time thinking about that other than everything Jami just said. And when it comes to having a super region, I just think, man, that decentralized revolution sure is going great.
Yeah, I mean, it is odd that was the chanting mantra, and then the plan afterward is, how do we centralize so we have the most votes and the most control, and let's get people that are not necessarily from a state to go fill in for delegate seats and et cetera, and all the kind of gameplay that happened there. As somebody who hates parliamentary process and the whole idea of all of it, it feels like it's just constantly used as a tool of bad faith and control over other people that you're supposed to be collaborating with, and trying to make a more powerful party. And it's a real shame that that's been the game that the party has gone under for quite a while now.
Right. They originally wanted to get rid of region reps entirely, but it seems like when that didn't go their way, they kind of switched over to this, okay, we'll just form super regions and we'll have them represented by Mises-friendly region reps. And that's, kind of seems to be what happened here. And it seems like Region 1 is definitely a super region. It seems like they wanted to create those other super regions to the point that there was only maybe like one or two. That did not happen, but it definitely looked like that's what they were going for. Okay, just have super regions and have them under control by Mises appointed reps. So I don't know.
It's gerrymandering.
It's pretty much gerrymandering. I was trying to avoid using that term. But no, that's what it is. So would either of you say, do you think that regions should be smaller? Or some people think that maybe rather than having regions, there should be like one step, there should be like one rep per state affiliate? Or would you change anything in order to feel more represented?
I wouldn't mind one rep per state, but we could do time zones. We could do the pre-established geographical regions that are in our 4th grade social studies book that just, the Pacific Coast is the Pacific Coast. The Great Lakes is the Great Lakes. can't really change, geography. But other than that, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
I'm
I
sorry, Jimmy, go
certainly,
ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, I don't know that I have necessarily a preference other than whatever we do come up with is actually representative of the members in each of our states. One of the benefits of a regional system, and again, something like the Region 1 kind of just blows all of the benefits away, and in a negative way, is the fact that, I mean, when we were in what, Region 3, Mike? Was that what we were in prior to this? I want to say we were Region 3 or
Yeah.
6. You know, there were adjacent
Yeah.
states, and then you could have a regional conference, which allowed you to get your members in the various states together and talk about, things again that matter in the Great Lakes that affect, the Midwest, so there's some benefits to a system such as that. But if you're looking at it from a strictly political calculus, I think you're losing the plot. So, the Region 1, the super region, it was about controlling votes on the national party. And if that's your focus, you seriously have lost the plot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like being in a region with Wisconsin and Ohio because I can drive to Wisconsin and Ohio, and it makes sense to communicate with Wisconsin and Ohio. But for them, Robert's rules and bylaws is just like a game to be won.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I absolutely hate is that it has turned into this sort of plan to dominate and control for just one version of libertarian, when in reality, when you take a position within the party leadership, you should basically throw off any want to control specifically for your ideology. You should be representing all versions of libertarian while favoring none. Like, that should be the ideal position while you're there. And instead, it's like we need to get this as stacked as we can so we can do exactly what we want and we can shun the people we don't like. And when you do that, it's not inspiring for people to join, right? And it goes against libertarian principles that people of different ideologies should be able to live together and cooperate. So it's definitely very sad for somebody like me to see who stayed out of the party expecting that that's just how the party operated. And then I went to a convention and I kind of started paying attention to what was happening, and I was like, this is not what I would expect. And I think there's probably a lot of small L libertarians out there like myself who see that and go, this is not cool. And it's one of the reasons why we started LP Alliance, is the idea of trying to get disparate people across philosophies within the Libertarian Party to work together and basically say, hey, if you don't want to dominate the party for your specific ideology alone, come communicate. Let's find a way forward. And we're hoping that kind of happens naturally in states. But if we can go there and try to help it happen, do you think that is possible inside of Michigan, to have it to where basically everybody that is in good faith can work together in solidarity and kind of maybe shun or push to the side currently the people that really want to just own it for their ideology? Do you think it's possible there?
I think that's possible, only if the very isolated and very top-down single ideology model begins to fall apart, and it is beginning to fall apart. But there was a lot of damage done from people. This wasn't like at the 1982 National Convention, there was a three-way debate on whether or not the purpose of the party was to win elections, to run educational campaigns, or to spoil elections. But now we have the fourth option of supporting candidates from other parties and supporting disgusting candidates from other parties and supporting disgusting ideas, to where, I know a lot of people who are just simply disgusted. They are flat out disgusted and don't want to be associated with, just say, like any tweet that LPNH puts out. And I can't blame any of those people. So that dwindled our numbers a little bit too. But I think in long term, it has to be what you said. It can't be favoring one flavor of libertarianism inside of the party. But I want to add a caveat to it. It should be nonpartisan. If you're in party leadership, you should be nonpartisan when it comes to the people inside the party, but you should be very freaking partisan when it comes to other parties. You have at the same time the current leadership, state and national, want a very specific version of libertarianism inside the party, but outside the party, hey, we're independents. We're putting, they think it's so great to say we're putting principle above party. That's why we can vote for other parties. But then guess what? Why does anybody want to join our party if it's just to vote for other parties? There's a party you can join if you love Donald Trump. It exists already. And they win a lot more than us. And they have a lot more money than us.
I think it's just funny seeing seeing this debate happen again. Like,
yeah.
Okay, this is not like people acting like this is the first time anyone has thought of oh, what if we just take our status as a potential spoiler and weaponize that to try to get some concessions out of the other parties. It's been tried before and it does not work because we are not currently, as of yet, in the position of being able to have that sort of bargaining power. You need to have actual leverage, and you need to have enough of a voting bloc consistently that other parties will take you seriously and actually have to pander for your votes. But you don't get there by selling out your principles. You get there by having enough people on board with your principles that other parties will want to that they'll want to make concessions to try to get voters who would otherwise vote for you. So yeah, the whole kingmaker strategy that was just approached like from that was never done correctly.
It's also uninspiring, right? Like, how do you inspire people to come if it's like, hey, we're actually never going to win? Like, to inspire people, it has to be a radically optimistic stance towards liberty. Now, it could be that you see that there are libertarians in other parties. I don't discount that, and I would not blame an individual for voting for Liberty Republican or Liberty Democrat and saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do individually. But the party apparatus needs to put up the front of, we do not back down. We are going to build this, and we're going to do multiple strategies, right? It won't just be, we're only going to do candidates, because I think the party does play a role in kind of connecting activism. So both national activism and local activism, going out and making single issue coalition projects. I think that's something you can be done, and then at the same time run candidates. But there's plenty of time in between candidates where we should be doing those other things. And I think that would keep people more motivated. I went to a few local meetings in Philadelphia and a couple other areas, and it very much seems like people want to do activism, but then there are these things that they have to get done to remain an affiliate, where I think if there was some bylaws changes in certain places, you might be able to have it to where, you could meet your requirement of affiliate based on activism or new signups by doing outreach, etc. That might motivate people to bring more people in. But I do think these multiple strategies can be done. I do agree, though, that the idea of the kingmaker strategy in general it's never going to be inspiring. And as we're losing members and where we stand on our philosophy is being presented something different than what most of us believe, that it's hard to retain people and it's hard to excite people to come back. And so hopefully we can do that, and hopefully we can show that it can be done through communication with people that might be ideologically very different from ourselves.
Right. I feel like anyone who would have been on board with just having the party endorse Trump endorsing him all but in name, like they probably already were members of the Republican Party. And if they weren't, very few actual libertarians were going to stick around for that because, as you said, it's uninspiring.
Yeah, I don't know, Jamie, did you comment on this?
I haven't. I think Mike said one thing that was really important, and I wanted to stress that we should be nonpartisan inside the party. I think that's something that we haven't had in 2 years, and it wasn't necessarily equal on both sides. I mean, you had the MC hardliners that it was you're either with us or you're against us. And there was certainly ideological diversity on the other side, that us versus them, the us, if we were, depending on what side you were not monolithic. We never were. we weren't factional. We didn't have a very big caucus status within Michigan prior to the MC entering. But it became something else, right? So when I retook Wayne, my principal focus, the only reason I did it and my principal focus for doing so was to give members in that affiliate a place where they could come back, be unafraid to be the libertarians they were and participate in the process, which was starkly in contrast to what Andrew Chatterdid was doing in Wayne when he was chairing the affiliate. He was trying to, deny delegate seats to state convention. We all know what happened at the national convention with Michigan delegates. So, I mean, we need leadership in Michigan that is going to be nonpartisan. They're going to be those servants in those affiliates, whether it's the county affiliates or the state party, for the members. And absolutely, I mean, people come to this party with different goals. They want to run a campaign. They want to volunteer to help, in different things. You've got people that want to do the activism, whether it be something that they're extremely passionate about. And then you've just got those people that want to be around folks that get them, if that makes sense, that understand them and are open to libertarianism. And we don't get that outside of our party. And it's sad when we can't get it inside our party. And to one of your other points you made, Phil, if we can't figure out how to deal with ideological diversity within our party, how the hell are we going to sell it outside of our party?
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak a little bit on that too. Our ideas are that, not only do you have freedom, but you have to have personal responsibility, right? And you have responsibility for your actions. And we, our leadership at the national level, the disgraced former chair, clearly showed she had no responsibility to act in accordance with her fiduciary duty, but then also to come clean about it. She's still out there defending kind of the behavior that she had done. Well, there are other libertarians that have said, I am sorry for doing this. And, I can respect that admission of it. And so but it does feel like, how do we show the world that libertarians are capable of doing this if these are the leaders or the representatives that are doing these kind of shady things in the background or trying to force control through the mechanisms of parliamentary process? All of that, I feel, is, it hurts our ability to bring people in and bring people back. And hopefully we can move past that at some point. I understand that bylaws are important, but building out bylaws based on common understanding and not an idea of how to weaponize it, I think, is the only way we turn this thing around.
Yeah, our idea of the party is that it will work better if there's more people, and their idea of the party will work better if they get rid of people. It's an active, they're trying to get rid of people just so that they can act their own ideas. I would much rather attract as many people as possible. Larry Sharp always says 80-20. If we agree on 80% of the issues, let's not worry about the 20 where we disagree. I don't want to attract people that I only agree with 20% on. I don't want it to be that. I mean, we have to define ourselves. The Reform Party, when they got big, they had such a small platform that, like, their diversity of ideas was through the frickin' roof. That you had, that I think that's what caused that party to fall apart. But yeah, it's about. But at the end of the day, we meet more people, and you get more people by being open to more people. It's pretty simple math. And to piggyback on something that Jami said, they made social club a pejorative, but you know what? Social clubs have been a big part of civil society for a long time, and social clubs have gotten things done in the past. A social club is nice.
Right. I mean, one of the main purposes, in my opinion, and this was also part of the original vision for the Libertarian Party, was that it would be a front for networking and for education. Like, yeah, you get together with your social club and you help educate the public, you help recruit new people, and you do activism. You get your ideas out there and you start a cultural movement. So yes, social club is not necessarily a bad thing. I just find it funny though, like about the 80-20 thing. Like the Mises Caucus originally advertised itself as a big tent caucus. And originally, okay, there was a decent amount of diversity, but they always recruited a lot more heavily from the conservative and Republican circles. So eventually they kind of started to outcompete the libertarians of other origins. But yeah, I know, I absolutely think we should be recruiting as many like-minded people as we can, as long as like, I think there are certain hard lines that we want to set. Like if you're pro victimless crime laws, for example, you're probably not going to be a good fit. If you can't abide by the live and let live philosophy, you're probably not going to be a good fit. But again, yeah, we should not be hyper focused on these small areas where we disagree, and we should try to find areas where we can all agree with one another, such as being anti-warfare state, anti-mass imprisonment, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree that, I think more people are libertarian-ish than they even realize. And our goal should not be the first time they come in and they go, I'm going to go to this, meeting. And then it's like, actually, they're discussing, the ideas of should you be able to sell your organ. These are things that's like, and that's happening at bylaws meetings that are getting projected on the internet. It's like, I get it. These are very detailed conversations, but it's not gonna entice people to come, right? It has to be a cool, liberating philosophy that people come to easily, right? And that they can adopt with their current worldviews incrementally into a better understanding of it. And I think we've done a pretty horrible job as libertarians doing it, or at least the party has in recent years.
Knowing how the message is, without getting hyper focused on certain niche positions. Okay, you can sell freedom of association to the general public, but there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And I'd say the wrong way would be to jump straight into saying, I think businesses should be free to put whites only signs in their windows.
Exactly. And it should, here's a strategy that LPNH did. It was like, hey, the only thing that, certain groups of people believe in is the idea that they want the free association. So let's market to them alone. Mm-hmm. And in doing so, you shut off everybody else. And in reality, that would be a negative byproduct of freedom that would only be beneficial because now we know they're all in this one community and we can ignore them and make sure we shut off trade to them. But yeah, it's a hard thing, I think, for us to bring new people in when the environment is the way it is now, particularly divided and divisive. But hopefully we can shift that and then make it more of a welcoming place where people can come in, learn. Maybe they're interested in the party structure. Maybe they're more interested in activism. We should be siloing people that have like-minded ideas into these different categories, into the liberty movement. And hopefully we can get there, right? But we need to turn the ship around before that can really happen. Okay, so we're kind of coming to a bit of a close here. I wanted to give you guys some time to maybe give final statements, wants, hopes for the Michigan LP. And, one of those questions is like, what is missing currently in maybe Michigan from national and the broader liberty movement, and how could that help? Basically, like if the National Party could do something more for Michigan, what would it be? And then go into your final statements, wants, hopes for Michigan. And I'll start with you, Mike.
Go back in time and observe your own bylaws and let the states run the states. Don't send secret emails to members of your own faction promising support and lawyers to do whatever the hell you want. I guess that's a pipe dream, but I think a little bit of retroactive neutrality from the current leadership at National. Maybe send out an email that says it was wrong of the previous chair to hardline choose a side, but we're ready to, work with anybody and everybody after this next convention to let the people who have been scared away by the, aggressive lawsuits from National and the obvious, cronyism from the previous chair and our current state chair, recognized state chair, do more to assure them it's not going to happen, and they'll be more willing to participate. But right now, as it is, there's a lot of people in the state who feel like National's not on their side, and there's obviously Angela McArdle stepped down, and all the Ewoks sang, but we want people to know that there is a little bit more neutrality coming from National, to feel safe again, to actually participate and know that whatever they show up to do with their time, energy, and money to the state convention isn't just going to be thrown away because Andrew sends a secret email to somebody with the Mises Dakota ring, and it all gets thrown out in the end. So neutrality, at least neutrality. That's the least you could do is neutrality. I mean, it takes zero effort to be neutral.
Yeah, so you're wanting some sort of just statement to say, like, look, things were not handled correctly, and we apologize, and we're going to keep moving forward, right? And I think that would help. Some people might say, oh, well, you're just rehashing and causing more problems. I'm the type of person that thinks, confrontation can be beneficial if people are honest about what happened, move forward through it with conversation. And I would think that would at least get that going again if they did make a statement like that. And then those people would say, hey, well, maybe it actually is worth me investing my time and my money, right? And right now, the way things are, those two things are very precious to a lot of people, and they don't want to come in, give their time to a headache or their money to an organization that doesn't represent them, or doesn't even try to or pretend to. And so I agree that there are, I think there could be some steps that would probably help with that. And maybe we'll see that come out of there. We see that Karen Ann is in the chat. Please spread that message in there that some statements should be sent out personally or privately to the people that have been affected. Jami, your turn.
Yeah, I mean, I've had conversations with a couple of folks on the current LNC, and I do know that there's many people that believe that there were mistakes made for various reasons. But I will say that there is a different LNC. There is a different focus, and when it comes to Michigan, there is actual interest in Michigan, and maybe they need to communicate that a little better. But I mean, we have the vice chair who's going to be in attendance at our convention in Michigan. I mean, people are interested and they care about the members here, and they want to see a healthy state affiliate. They have a stake and an interest in that. And that is extremely heartening for me. Now, you can't take back the 2 years. I mean, Mike's right. I mean, it would be great to be able to go back in time, but we can't. And we need to be looking forward, not only, in terms of what National does or doesn't do, but what we do at this next convention. And whatever members decide in our leadership, we need a unified party that's focused on, our principles, our platform of doing the work and engaging members and bringing in new members and doing all of the things that we all came to this party to do.
Right. Yeah, I can sympathize with just like the struggle of trying to reach back out to people who may have felt alienated over the past few years, who had previously been involved with the party. and trying to convince them, okay, yeah, there were some serious mistakes made, but things are different now. Like we've already started making changes. Like I think a lot of people are waiting to see what happens at this next convention, and if we are actually going to be able to get the party back on track, and then maybe they'll be willing to come back. But I think the problem is though, like if people don't come back and help make these changes, they won't happen. So yeah, knowing how to message to previous supporters and convince them to show up and help retake the party and get the culture moving in the right direction. Yeah, it's a struggle. So yeah, our work is definitely only beginning, I think, but I think we're already making a lot of progress in the right direction. But yeah, we've still got plenty of work, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Karen Ann is in the chat basically saying, that she didn't agree with what happened and that you guys would have won, and none of this would have progressed the way it was if things were handled differently. So, you know, it there is a hope that this will be a major reset that happens for Michigan. And then hopefully that is something that can continue to roll on the kind of trajectory that we've seen currently, where states are kind of having resets all across the country with their leadership. And hopefully this means a larger shift within the party, so that way it can get back to just doing what it needs to do, the actual work that seems to have been forgotten in recent years, as we've lost more local candidates, not gained more. As somebody from Pennsylvania, we used to kind of be we used to have a lot of local libertarians elected, and it's sad to see kind of where it's gone now. But I think each state will hopefully have this kind of swap around that happens, and people that have the ideology that they want to work together, and kind of change that paradigm. And I wish you guys luck at these upcoming conventions. There is some things I need to do, a call to action essentially. So you all have an interesting delegate system, right, where it's based on your local affiliates, but there is delegate slots for people that are in unaffiliated regions. And so July 1st, there is a Zoom meeting where you can go in as a Michigander and say, I want to be a delegate to the state convention. But to get that Zoom link, you actually have to reach out, uh, one by one to Lee Daly. And I guess it's supposed to be done via email, but as far as we're aware, there's been issues with the emails. So if you have any other way to reach out to these people, reach out to them, get yourself access to that Zoom link, show up there, be a delegate again in Michigan, and show that, there is a new pathway forward possible. And it starts by people getting re-engaged and trying to show up to those state conventions. And so that's July 1st again, and reach out to Lee Daly in any way you can. People will be bugging about the email problem. And get a hold of that Zoom link for July 1st. The actual convention is July 19th and 20th. And when this stream is over, I will link it in the comment sections underneath. And lastly, kind of a shameless plug, follow us on Twitter. You can also check out our website. It is still currently in a soft launch, but you can go on there and you can get merch and stuff. And if you like the idea of discussing respectfully with people you might disagree with to find a way forward, come join our Discord, get active in there, move up to a vetted role and start communicating and figuring out how we can, traverse this kind of change in paradigm within the party together. And with that, I guess, Rose, I forgot to give you any final statements. Let me give you your final statements, since I gave everybody.
I think we've pretty much covered what we came here to do, and I have made most of my thoughts already.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And again, make sure you get out to that unaffiliated delegate if you're in Michigan. And we will see you next time on LPA Live. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.